Greetings, fellow slingers. Welcome back to Roll the Hard 20 podcast. It is I, your trusted Dungeon Master Brian, welcoming you to another episode of the show. But we do not have another episode of our Dragon's Demand run-through. Nope, unfortunately, a scheduling conflict led to yours truly and a few of the other Hard Slingers sitting down in our Zoom panel and basically discussing things about the show. During this time, you'll find that we discussed what it was like to have returned to the Rage Room and hammered out a few more episodes of our Carrion Crown run-through. We also sat down via this virtual eye of destiny and discussed what it's like to say goodbye to one of our own Hard Slingers who had been with the show since the inception. Also, we talked about other kinds of RPGs that we'd like to bring to the masses. Those masses are you, my fellow slingers. And remember, if you want us to run something, all it requires is that it has a D20 in the game. Because after all, we are Roll the Hard 20. Now, I know you want to talk about Delta Green, but we incorporate a D20 in our Delta Green sessions. You know we do. Anyways, all that being said, remember, leave us that 5-star rating and review on whatever podcast app you listen to the show on. Don't forget to like us over on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, all those generational social media platforms that I really don't like. Anyways, and subscribe to us at our YouTube channel at Rolled Hard 20. And I guess without any further delay, let's go ahead and lead on in to our Hard Slinger panel. Everybody ready?
Yes.
Sure.
Ready.
Greetings, fellow slingers. Welcome back to Roll the Hard 20 podcast. It is I, your trusted Dungeon Master Brian, and with me, the Hard Slingers.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a little different venue this evening. What we're going to do is basically kind of talk about the state of the show and how it's been going. I mean, I know here in Southern California, we're actually starting to come out of our COVID shell, and we just want to talk about how the show's probably going to progress from, as it gets closer and closer to the restrictions lifting and what we have on the horizon as far as the different adventure paths and stuff. Nick, you were present, what was it, a week and a half ago when we had the Hard Slingers alumni in the Rage Room, where we actually put together 2 episodes. We initially were only going to do one, and we ended up making 2 of them in an effort to say goodbye to Kush's character, Talos. What was it like to be finally back in the group?
Yeah, it's a lot different doing it in person compared to doing it on Zoom. Definitely enjoyed it a lot more over doing it in person. Not to say I'm not enjoying doing it with you guys.
No,
We've
already discussed how difficult this venue is. I mean, we're not used to doing it this way. I mean, we're of an ilk where everybody wants to get together. They want to riff off of each other that they can see across from the table and stuff. And I could really see, like, in your eyes, you were like, fuck yeah, I'm happy to be here, drinking beers, having a good time. But yeah, it was kind of crushing to see Kush go. But yeah, I'm sure from your end of the table, it was really difficult to see him at the little kids table on the farthest side of the room.
Yeah, it's pretty far away.
Now, Ryan, you're newest to the show, and you actually got plugged into the show because we knew that Kush was going to be leaving, but you've managed to mesh very well with everybody and all the players and all the characters and stuff. What's it like coming on board? Because I know you play online too. So
so my first experience playing online was started a couple of years ago, and I feel very lucky in that most of the people that I started playing with I actually consider like online friends, and like some are in Texas, some are in Massachusetts, some are in, I think, Kentucky. Anyways, but this one is a little unique. So this is the only game that I play online that is like an actual video, like webcam. All the others are entirely audio and on the Roll20 platform. If anyone's
that was like the one you invited me to sit in on, which I really enjoyed.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're always welcome back. The offer extends to anyone. You're welcome to hang out and listen in, and I can kind of show you how I run my game. But anyways, No, it's just been really fun. I like to pride myself that I can get along with most anyone who's got, like a basic sense of decency and fair play. I benefit from both being like someone who runs games to someone who plays games, and so I'm very familiar with both aspects. And I have a fairly domineering personality, and if you may not have noticed, I tend to talk a lot.
Oh no, I've noticed.
So I also try not to talk over people, and I also do try to include people and stuff, and it's one thing that I really admire about your style, Brian, is I can tell you really make sure that everyone is included, and it makes me feel very, very comfortable here.
Yeah, and to include everybody, Chris, you're fairly, I wouldn't say you're super new, but you're not ages old, but I mean, you've been on the show since during the Hidden Shrine of Tomocon. What's it been like for you now that you're started a new AP from the beginning, and you and I have a huge history. In fact, you just found a little 3x5 card with my writing on it that's like 40 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm starting a new campaign from the scratch is really exciting. Coming in to Moacon to finish it out for a departed player was fun, but I was somebody else, and being able to start a new campaign with my own character has been great. I've really enjoyed Ryan coming on the show. He's added some fresh energy to the show, and I think he has also kind of unlocked from all of us, wanting to be more engaged player to player instead of player to DM.
Yeah, and I've always liked that. I know during the Carrying Crown that we run, the players interact a lot. It's more of me just presenting the narrative and answering questions and presenting stuff. But I mean, a lot of their rifting was just off of each other and what they would do. And I always thought, well, maybe it has something to do with being in person, where you remove the impersonal aspect of the virtual eye of destiny and are actually able to talk with one another. But I could see that on this AP that's not true, because you guys are interacting with each other more frequently on the Dragon's Demand than it was in the other one, the Hidden Shrine, which seemed more of like just a giant meat grinder. And I should have probably done a better due diligence of determining what that was before I signed us onto that one, because looking at its pedigree, it comes from an old module that's very revered, but unfortunately it can be quite a meat grinder. And I think that the scope of which I viewed it in, of being younger and thinking how exciting it was, doesn't really translate well to interaction and role playing and interacting with the NPCs and stuff like that. It's just basically moving from one combat room to another, and that doesn't make good listening. So
yeah, I'm really looking forward, now that we're out of the tower, to be able to interact with the town folk and have even more interaction with the party members. I know for me, I'm trying to up my game a little bit of the role play. I got a tough act to follow with Ryan here. Very engaged, lots of energy, but I think it's a good thing. I mean, I even saw the very first night that Ryan was with us, I had seen something new from Nick even, and I was like, wow, I just saw a different type of energy and personality from Nick that first night that Ryan was with us. And I was excited because I think it really brought out for all of us that we wanted to up our game to put on that good show and that dialogue, because a lot of this on the Zoom and the podcast is theater of the mind. So
yeah, it always has to be.
We have to bring that energy, and we have to have people engaged. And I think we're getting there.
Nick's our quiet killer, though. I mean, he comes up with solutions that are just, I like that.
Yeah, I
want to stop that person with my corpse.
I always feel like Nick. I always feel like you're like sitting there like calculating and like waiting and watching. And while like a lot of people can mistake that as being passive, I've noticed that like when you do leap into action, it's like pretty decisive. It's pretty on point and ready to go. So I understand and appreciate that.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Like when everyone else is kind of talking and kind of figuring out what they want to do, I'm kind of like internalizing in my head, like based off of other people's actions or kind of like what my abilities are for my character, kind of just thinking of like the possibilities, like I can go there, I can, cast this or try to attack this person, try to go back. Like I just try to like mentally map everything out in my head.
Yeah, and I don't think any two people should have the same play style. Everybody should play their character their specific way. And like I said, I like the way you play it, Nick. And Stubby, I like how he's ran. I like how Warren's ran. I like how who else we got up here? We got Flint, Hard Bone. We got Griswold. No more.
Poor Griswold.
You're out of here.
Rip Griswold.
You're off the fucking thing. But no, Koosh knows that we love him. In fact, I think I just messaged him the other day, and because he was asking me, hey, when are you going to drop the Carrion Crown? Because for the listeners that may or may not know, we did record for 2 hours in the Rage Room. We were only going to do one, but we weren't able to close out his character, so we ran longer and split it into two. And so he's like, hey, when are you going to drop it? I said, well, the first one will drop Saturday night, and then we were able to make two, so the second one will drop. I'll probably drop it this weekend, and I think I titled it Don't Tell Us Where to Go. It sounded good. It sounded like a good riff for his character. So
some of the titles,
some of the wonky titles, but I mean, we've hung with that guy for years, and like I've always told him, he's always welcome back. Junior couldn't be here this evening, so we were unable to run our regular scheduled Dragon's Demand run through, but we decided it'd probably be kind of a good little thing to everybody while we're waiting in the lobby. Let's just talk about the status of the show and see where we project it to go. As I was saying earlier, with us starting to finally come out of our quarantine, we do hope to start meeting once again in the Rage Room. I know that Nick, you want to meet in person. I know, Ryan, you want to make sure that you could come back, and I want to come back. Junior's having a scheduling conflict, and it wouldn't be every week. We said, I think we would meet like one Sunday a month for like maybe 3 hours, just kind of put down a couple episodes. But in the meantime, try to finish up what we've got here if we've got time for this too, or figure something out. We also wanted to start hitting the Rolling for 20 venue. Chris, remember you were saying that you wanted to get together and like just riffed off of each other for about 20 minutes where we digress, and that offer extends to everybody on the show, not just a one-on-one, but like Nick, if you and I wanted to riff for 20 minutes, or Ryan, you got to change that name because I keep wanting to call you Warren because I keep saying your name now.
I mean, hey, we've all got character names up.
Yeah, so. Totally. But I mean, any one of us can get on, or we could all get on. We could talk about something like the difference of editions. What did the first edition bring that fifth edition has maintained or modified? Like, I know first edition had the thief. The thief isn't even I think it's an archetype at this point. It's based off the rogue that they changed in 3.5 or 3 actually 3.0. They did away with having a thief. So as well as
that name.
Yeah, by that name. They changed it to the rogue, just like they used to have, fighter, cleric, dwarf, elf, halfling, and human. Those were, or human could be the fighter, but they didn't separate races and classes until later editions, and how that incorporated your basic stat blocks and stuff for your ability scores. But yeah, I mean, that's a venue that we want to look into putting out there as well. So
yeah, I'm excited for the Roll 20. I think I'm probably more excited than most, just because I had so many years hiatus from playing D&D that doing the Roll 20 and just kind of exploring the rules as they've evolved or devolved across the editions I'll be relearning, the rules of the game.
Well, Kush and I were doing the rolling for 20 episodes. In fact, you heard me mention you on one of those episodes about how you and I used to play way back when and stuff. But there are other things that I still want to be able to put my finger into as a DM or / handler. And one of them is I want to try to incorporate more Delta Green into the show as well. I don't know if any of you three wish to do something like that, either in person or via Zoom or whatnot. But I've got the Sam and Tony. They usually get together with me every couple of months, and we'll bash out like 5 hours of something, and then I'll slowly start putting it out as I edit it. But that's a real fun game too. I don't know if any of you have done any research into that or have any desire to play it.
I'm always up for learning something new though, so it might be interesting to check out.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the game itself. I think it was really fun to play. So
the episodes are great. Even though I haven't been able to participate in those episodes, they're fantastic to listen to.
Nice.
It's you have the right mix with Tony and Sam and yourself, of something different than D&D. It's exciting.
And I like that too. I don't always want to feel like we're putting something together, whether it's swords or spells and stuff. I want to see us do other things as well. I want to see us delve into it. I think I had mentioned several times in the past that if any of the listeners wanted to hear us play a different game, the only thing it had to have was a D20. That's part of the rules. Yeah. Unfortunately, when I picked Delta Green, I thought you can use a D20, and apparently you can't. So needless to say, we use a D20 anyways for our luck roll. Above or below 10,
So, okay, since we're talking about other systems here, can I ask a question to each of you in turn then?
Absolutely.
What other game systems have you played?
Basic fantasy RPG. Nothing outside of the fantasy genre. I'll tell you that. Pathfinder, 1st edition, D&D, 2nd, 4th, 5th, basic, a little bit of the dungeon crawl classics. And that's basically all my books right now. Yeah.
Cool.
What about you?
So I have done extensive White Wolf, which for those of you who may not be familiar is generally like a modern, it's often referred to as the World of Darkness. Vampires, werewolves, fairies or changelings in some cases in essentially modern knights. Most experiences with the vampires, but I've definitely done a little bit of werewolf. And I've also done Palladium, which has got a pretty wide range that it covers, but does gravitate more towards they've got a superhero game out that is
Palladium,
essentially,
right?
That is essentially, modern day heroes, think like Marvel inspired and such as that. But then their other like major line is Rifts. And mind you, I haven't played Palladium in ages. The other one that I played that is also part of White Wolf that I really enjoyed was Exalted, which is
I've never heard of that one.
The simplest way I can distill it is imagine like you are playing a character in an anime is really kind of what it boils down to. Like in kind of like an old world like ninja like pseudo fantasy realm. It's pretty crazy. There's like different flavors of Exalted. Like you could be like a complete outcast and thought like by the general populace to not exist, or you could be like this part of this oppressive like regime of like foot soldier Exalted. It's pretty awesome. I like it a lot.
I've never heard of that.
I will maybe have to teach you about it sometime.
Definitely so. Nick, have you played anything else besides D&D?
No, I'm actually kind of a newbie to like RPGs in general. So I've only played 5th edition D&D, so I'd
Well,
be
if there's
interested.
any edition to get into, this is definitely one of the easier ones to pick up.
Yeah. So like now that I'm kind of getting used to it, I'd kind of like to try to do other editions as well. Just kind of see what the differences are. And
Maybe we'll try to piss off a few listeners and put together a few 4th edition things for you.
sure, yeah.
I see Ryan's like, yeah. I love 4th edition.
You guys obviously can't see it because of my screen, but I've got I have a feeling my collection isn't quite rival Brian's, but it can hold its own.
I have a condition though. I'm like very much like if I start collecting something, then it
You
eats at
collect
me.
all of it?
Yeah, it eats me to do that. I hate that feeling. So what about Chris? Any other games that you play besides our old school edition?
Yeah, I mean, really for me, I think
Don't tell me Yahtzee or something or Battleship. That don't count.
old school, the old school edition that you and I played when we were kids, that was really the last time I played a in-person or RPG, board game type. I kind of evolved into playing, online type RPG stuff. But that's really been my last 30 years is just online stuff. But when you and I reconnected and I had an opportunity to come back and play D&D, I was super stoked.
Because that was a sweet move, man. Talk about catching lightning in a bottle, man. Not only were we able to reconnect, but get you on the show too, man.
Yeah, I was really excited to be on the show and really just get back to D&D because that's really the roots of my love of fantasy type gaming. Whether it be online or board games. I mean, I always grew up playing board games of all types. But I was really excited to come back and be playing D&D.
Well, our hope, like I said, is to try to get other things out there besides just what we're playing now. And honestly, I don't want to rob the listeners of the experience of this AP of the Dragon's Demand. I want to make sure that we at least do our best to finish it. And it should take us, I think, up through 6th level. So kind of gives you an idea. You guys are currently 2nd level about how to measure your progress in the AP based on, leveling up and everything. But I want to make sure that we put this out there, but we also have other things to put out as well. And Paizo puts out really good products. I mean, you can't beat their adventure paths. And we'll just see what else is out there as well. I mean, other games that we could incorporate as well. Games that, Nick, if you see something out there that has a polyhedron that you want to play, let's run that up the ladder too, see what goes on.
There was an old game, and I have the box of it someplace, but it was kind of like a spy type of role-playing game. I'll have to dig it out.
Was it Top Secret?
Yeah, Top Secret.
I heard about that game. That's like an old game.
It is. It's really old, and that might be something that would be kind of cool to do too. Something that's I'll call it modern world instead of fantasy, but that might be something cool for us to check out.
Yeah, and I'd like to see, as we keep perfecting this online venue of audio and video quality, which it seems like even here we are a year later and we're still trying to fine tune these dials and stuff to make things sound better than what they do. As long as it's something that we could put out theater of the mind, I'm all for it. If we want to say, hey, you know what, this week and the next week, we're going to put this one off and we're going to run this for, a couple hours and just go through the paces of this game. And then we'll jump back in, just things like that. So we could touch base with other people and any listeners that want to listen to something different, they could say, hey, I really like that game. We want to hear more of that, or that didn't strike a nerve with us. Go back to what you were doing before, kind of thing. That way we could still be interactive with people that listen to the show and know what they want or don't want, and just keep going down the line that way. So
yeah, Top Secret was an old TSR game from the 80s.
Was it TSR? I wasn't sure what it was from. I thought it might have been through Chaosium, but
no, it was a TSR game.
So, oh God, was it TSR? So one game that I do play regularly is actually a really, really old. It's been slightly revamped by my friend who runs the game, but it's Marvel. It is an old Marvel game, and what I find very interesting about it is very narrative driven. There's not like a super careful balancing of like character creation stats and such. There is like you can go the full like random version of it, or we kind of revamped it where you can actually like envision the kind of hero that you want to make and like build it from the ground up with like all the powers and stuff. And it's quite interesting. Anyway, sorry, segue.
No, I mean, don't be sorry for digressing. I mean, that's what we're all about right now, is just talking and digressing and putting something together right now. Basically, it's kind of like purging out all this stuff so we could get down to the meat and potatoes of what we're doing. So
I would be curious if there are any listeners that would suggest if there's any APs that they would like us to play.
APs?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
I'm just throwing that out there as like a question.
No, that's totally fine. I mean, I try to maintain a good library of 5th edition APs on the shelf. I've also managed to procure, through my stupidity, all of the 1st edition Pathfinder APs, as well as a few other modules. There were a few that I wanted to run by you guys, but they're beyond level 1. I think they start like level 3, or they start at level 6. They take place in Osirian, which is more of like an Egypt area where you're going into the tombs of these pyramids and stuff like that. That was something that I was like, oh, let's do something like that. Or there was this one called Carrion Hill, which had that whole H.P. Lovecraft feel to it. But we were doing Carrion Crown, and it's kind of similar to that. But it actually is a much thinner in scope. It's only like 30 pages or something, as well as other stuff. I mean, there's swashbuckling ones, the Skull and Shackles, there's Ruins of Aslant, there's the Rise of the Rune Lords. I don't know how I could forget that. I think 1 million people have ran that already, so we could be 1,000,001. So anyways, yeah, if any listener out there wants to hear us run a particular AP, let me know. I mean, at any case, we could get it through Drive-Thru RPG. So
absolutely.
Yep.
Nick, is there anything you want to see us run, or anything you want to go through on this? Or
Gotta be honest with you, I don't really know many APs. But I guess like a specific type, I think it'd be kind of interesting to kind of, what was it, the Egyptian one, where you kind of start at a higher level, so you're not starting with like a twig of a character that like you potentially die every encounter, every battle.
You say that.
Yeah.
You say that, and then you're gonna wind up playing a level 5 character that runs into a monster like a bullet, and you're gonna be like, oh.
Yeah.
That is fun, and I always thought that would be really cool. I just didn't want the power creep to get too high on certain things.
No, I understand that.
But I've always said that, and I think I said it on the last Rolling for 20 with Koosh, that I always considered that level 3 to be the sweet spot to start a game off at, because the other ones are just too crunchy.
I would argue that level 2 gives level 3 a run for its money. And I say that because level 2, especially when you're dealing with people who are possibly a little bit less familiar with the game, it's high enough level where you don't necessarily blow over in a stiff breeze or from a headless zombie.
Like Professor Petros Lorimer.
Sorry, I literally just watched it just before the game, so I just had to reference that. But you are still very much like trying to come into your own. At level 3 is really like where, as far as game mechanics go, characters like really start hitting that like crackle pop sort. I have the power.
Yeah.
Thing. Like level 3, like level 6 is that, and then like there's another one that like happens at about like level 10 or 11 depending on what class you're playing. But yeah, I would definitely argue level 2 or level 3 is a really good starting spot.
Now, Chris, you've gone through a couple different levels. I think you started off your last character at level 5, and then this one at level 1 to 2 and stuff.
Yep.
I mean, did you feel any different? Obviously, you felt more powerful, but I mean, what is your idea on? What's your take on starting off at a lower level versus starting off at a higher level?
I think it depends on the class that you're playing. I found with a rogue, this was the first time I was playing a rogue, that hitting second level and getting cunning action was big. Where I looked at some of the other characters like Kush's characters, and he seemed to have more of a, I'll call it air quotes, a tool belt of things he could do in some of the classes he was playing. I think that.
Did you see that?
Yep.
Missed call.
Yep. So I think for me, I don't really care if it's first level, second level, or third level start. You got to figure out how to play that first level character, in that particular campaign. I think having that challenge is important.
Well, I always thought like the first levels really introduce role playing to the character, because they're not meant to withstand fighting per se.
Yeah.
And they could earn their XP also through handling different decisions through the narrative of the AP itself, without so much as swinging a sword and falling down. So
I would think that the first level characters for somebody like Nick are really good, because to Nick's point is he sits back and he listens and he's like taking it all in, and he's kind of calculating what to do. And at first level you don't have a lot of options, so you have to be really creative, I think. And that's where a player like Nick is really important. He's pulling everything in. He's
take it all in, Nick.
He's taking it all in.
And he's what were you gonna say, Ryan? I'm sorry.
I was just gonna make a point. One of the other things to consider too, about things like the power creep and hitting like that sweet spot and level is, so obviously level 1 is what you start at. If you are going by the experience measure of leveling up, to get from level 1 to level 2 is 300 experience.
That's nothing.
It really isn't. Like, one truly solid combat encounter will get you there. Level 2 to level 3 is 900 experience, so you have to earn double that experience. And then just as a final example of like the scale of it, level 3 to level 4 is 2,700 experience, so that's 3 times the experience. So you need X amount of experience to get to level 2, you need 2x to get to level 3, and then you need 3x to get to level 4. So
and there's different ways to do it. You could do it through XP, or you could do it through milestone.
Oh yeah,
which I've always preferred milestone myself.
And I do too. I think but while I think that milestone is a great way to promote role-playing and storytelling, especially collaborative storytelling between the players and the storyteller, I do still think that using the XP chart as a guideline for milestones is a great way to go.
Yeah, but also like this is kind of turning into a rolling for 20 kind of segment, but like back in the old days, not only did they use slaying monsters and talking and interacting as XP wells, but they also used to use money. Like gold used to be counted for every gold coin was 1 XP.
Oh, interesting. That was
so like you could level up if you came across a cache of gold. How many pieces of gold are in there? Oh, 320 pieces of gold. Oh, wow. Suddenly now I'm level 2. But it's they eventually did away with that, because I thought it was always like a backdoor kind of a creep. you know, like, oh, we need to get them over the hump. So let's give them some gold, and that'll be just enough to get them over. But then, are they fighting each other over who gets the final kill? Who splits the XP? Is it split for, you know, the griffin you just killed, or is it the one who delivered the killing blow? So I don't know. It's all, you know, 6 in one, half a dozen in the other. Anyways.
Exactly.
Well, did we run out of things to say, or?
I mean, we can always find more.
Well,
yeah, but we don't want to kill it all in one episode. I mean,
no, definitely not. In fact, I didn't mean for it to go as long as it is going, but I'm glad we were able to get together. I missed Junior's call twice. He said he didn't have his phone with him, so we'll have to touch base with him tomorrow. Find out where you at. Maybe I gotta bail him out of jail.
Good luck with that. Oh my God.
Anyways,
we filled good time. We filled good time tonight.
We did. Remember, everyone out there, you could find us on whatever podcast app you listen to the show on. Leave us that 5-star rating and review. Head on over to the website at rollthehard20podcast.com. If you feel so inclined, check out our Amazon merch. The link is in the show notes. And last but not least, trip on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/rollthehard20podcast. Got a lot of different tiers that you can get all kinds of swag. So like the shirt, gold balloons, pictures, stickers. You can even get an opportunity to get on the show with us, especially now that we have a panel open. Anyways, all that being said, guys, I guess we're done, man.
Yeah, it's good times tonight.
Good
Enjoy.
times.
Yeah, sometimes it's really good just to chill and chat.
And here we are.